Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Cinema. I am Money Mike, and today we are going to talk about Royal Rumble surprises that we could see on Saturday. And quite honestly, this is probably the most we've ever had in terms of potential surprises across the board. Raw, SmackDown, TNA, NXT, AAA, Hall of Famers, legends, superstars returning to the company, superstars returning from injuries, and only 30 spots in each Royal Rumble. Hint, hint, and that's a hint, hint on Friday's video. Now, I'm going to briefly go over who I think could be surprises in this year's Royal Rumble. I do have this broken down in terms of superstars who have not been on TV in a while or coming back from injury. Surprises in terms of non-active members of the WWE roster. So that would be your Chris Jerichos, your Paige, so to speak. And of course your NXT, TNA, and potential AAA superstars that could be in this year's Royal Rumble matches, in which I will be live streaming the Royal Rumble this Saturday right here on this channel starting at 1:30 p.m. So we're going to find out together who will be this year's Joe Hendry, as we all believed in Joe Hendry last year, and he was a surprise. So who will we believe in this year for surprises? Hit that like and subscribe button below, and we will find out. Now, starting off here with the obvious, Brock Lesnar. We have not seen him since Survivor Series. And yeah, it's probably possible that we probably get some kind of indication of who his WrestleMania opponent is going to be. Obviously, Brock Lesnar is in that WrestleMania 42 commercial, so you know he is going to be highly featured in a big-time match. A lot of people are speculating Gunther as a potential opponent for Brock Lesnar. So we'll see, maybe if Gunther retires AJ Styles, maybe Gunther enters the Royal Rumble and we get an interaction between Gunther and Lesnar. Then we have Chad Gable, who we have not seen in quite a while due to an injury, and it is expected that he will be back soon. So I've seen this thrown around from other content creators. I think it'd be kind of cool to have Chad Gable confront El Grande Americano and kind of reveal that he was actually the original El Grande Americano, or maybe we get Chad Gable coming out as the original El Grande Americano. I mean, that'd be kind of funny. Then we have Dirty Dominic Mysterio, which we don't know the seriousness of his injury. We just know he's injured, but they haven't took the Intercontinental title off of him. We do know they took the World Heavyweight Championship off of Seth Rollins, but I do think it's interesting that they haven't took the Intercontinental Championship or the AAA Mega Championship off of him. So I'm assuming that they're just going to bring him back for the Royal Rumble, and that maybe Finn Balor, who was told on Raw that the Rumble was full, will find a way into the Royal Rumble, and maybe we'll start seeing teases of Finn Balor going after Dominic Mysterio for that Intercontinental Championship. And the man we have not seen since last year, LA Knight. Yeah, some people say that he might win the Royal Rumble. He might come back and win it all. He might be the one to get the push that Jey Uso got last year. And I think a lot of fans would be excited to see LA Knight not only return, but also win the Royal Rumble and get a world title match at WrestleMania. Again, LA Knight, I fully expect him to come back here Then, of course, there's Ludwig Kaiser. We have not seen Ludwig Kaiser in so long. And much like a lot of people last year were speculating that Chad Gable was El Grande Americano, which was not the case at all. Clearly, it was not Chad Gable because Chad Gable is injured, and we still see El Grande Americano on TV. I don't know. Explain that one. Explain that one, conspiracy theorist, okay? Ludwig Kaiser also has not been seen on TV in a while. While also El Grande Americano is on TV, but again, that could just be a coincidence. I'm not a conspiracy guy. But again, maybe Ludwig Kaiser's just been on a very, very long vacation. And of course, we do have to talk about Nikki Bella, who made her return to WWE in last year's Royal Rumble match. And she's turned heel. She faced Stephanie Valkyra. We have not seen her since I think it was a triple threat match with Stephanie, Nikki, and Raquel. So it's gonna be interesting to see, do they kind of have Nikki and Raquel and the Judgment Day interact? Um, but yeah, Nikki Bella, I think is probably gonna be coming back in this Rumble. Another woman that is returning from injury potentially is Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark had that gruesome injury, and we have not seen her. So hopefully, maybe perhaps WWE is holding her off until she can return in the Women's Royal Rumble. And of course, Tiffany Stratton, another injury. Um, man, WWE has been decimated with injuries this year or last year. But we have not seen Tiffany since she lost the women's championship to Jade Cargill. So we know Tiffany Stratton, who is also heavily featured in the women's WrestleMania 42 commercial, will probably make a return here. And hell, she could probably win it. Let's be honest here. And speaking of Jade Cargill, let's talk about one of her rumored opponents who also could be making a return in this year's Royal Rumble is Bianca Belair. We have not seen Bianca Belair since last year's WrestleMania when she had a match of the year contender with Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. An amazing triple threat match. That match was fun to see in person. Um, she's been out with a finger injury. We have not really heard a whole lot in terms of her status, and if her finger is healed, I would imagine the WWE would just go on ahead with the Bianca Jade program, and its potential, it could be set up with a Royal Rumble win by Bianca, which would make her a two-time Royal Rumble winner. And then there's AJ Lee. Again, we have not seen AJ Lee since what, WrestlePalooza, I believe. So it's been a weird return for AJ. No, War Games. I'm sorry. We have not seen AJ Lee since War Games. Her return has been kind of weird because they brought her back, and I know she had a book tour and everything, but we have not seen a whole lot of AJ Lee. She's still doing this to Becky Lynch, so I would imagine maybe Becky Lynch finally gets her comeuppance on AJ. And Becky Lynch eliminates AJ Lee from the Rumble to set up their feud going into WrestleMania. Next up here, surprises, and these are just the non-contracted WWE supers, non-contracted wrestlers that are not with WWE at the moment that could show up in the Royal Rumble. And obviously, we got to start with the big one, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is one that is very complicated because Fozzy does have a UK tour, like immediately following the Royal Rumble. And I go back to what I just said with AJ Lee, where AJ Lee made her return and then she took time off because she had a book tour. So it's quite possible that they do the same route for Jericho, where Jericho makes his big return at the Royal Rumble in the men's Royal Rumble match, and then we don't see him again until maybe the Elimination Chamber because of his tour. But it does reintroduce Chris Jericho back into the WWE vortex, so to speak. See what I did there? Another one that could be returning after a short pit stop in AEW is Paige. Now, Paige, I think a lot of people would go insane for an AJ Lee Paige interaction in the Royal Rumble. Paige has been another one rumored. There was that video she posted of her in the ring training, and there's a lot of times wrestlers around this time of the year will post videos like that just to troll people or troll the fans, but it does feel like she might be coming back. It does feel like she's been going long enough. I think the last time she was in WWE, she was a general manager of SmackDown. Now she'll be coming back as an active competitor. And you look at the landscape of women's wrestling in WWE right now, there's a lot of good potential matches for Paige. I'm going to group these two together, the two besties, Trish Stratus and Lita, as potential entries into the Women's Royal Rumble. Trish Stratus is a guest on Stephanie McMahon's podcast this week, so that could be a hint that maybe she'll show up at the Royal Rumble. And maybe there could be some plans in place for Trish Stratus and Lita at WrestleMania. That we saw them wrestle at WrestleMania 39. So maybe Trish and Lita come back for another match. Speaking of Trish Stratus, let's talk about one of her biggest rivals, Mickie James. I think this is the one that a lot of fans have been waiting on since Nick Aldis, her husband, arrived in WWE as a SmackDown general manager. Fans have been wondering, is Mickie James going to come to WWE along with him? Is she going to go in the Hall of Fame? It's very possible we do get Mickie James in the Hall of Fame. Maybe she makes her return. She has a short final run in WWE, perhaps. And obviously, you can't talk about Nikki Bella without talking about Brie Bella. It's probably been in the back of everyone's mind since Nikki made her return last year that a potential Brie Bella return could be on the way, and we could see a little twin magic in the Royal Rumble this year. Perhaps, I'm just saying, maybe this could be the first steps to getting Daniel Bryan a Legends deal with WWE. We could get him in the 2K games in the future. Then, of course, you have the IIconics, Peyton Royce, Billie Kay. They are free agents. They are not currently signed to TNA. And I think it's pretty clear that it's probably they would make their return to WWE. Peyton Royce is married to Shawn Spears, who is in NXT. So I think it's very possible that Peyton Royce, Billie Kay do come back to WWE. Even if you just gave one of them a spot in the Royal Rumble, at the very least it does tease the potential of both of them being brought back. And again, once we split up this crowded tag team title scene right now in the women's tag team title scene, we're going to need a new tag team to replace whatever team breaks up. And the IIconics would fit perfectly as a replacement. Now let's talk about Royce Keys. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you've not heard by now, that is the rumor name of the former Powerhouse Hobbs in AEW. He is expected to be on his way to WWE. For me, am going to be curious to see where they go with him because NXT is losing a lot of talent, so they could put him down there in NXT to restock the NXT roster on the men's side. Or they could put him on Raw or SmackDown, so he fits either way. And let's talk about NXT here. Ethan Page, obviously, I just mentioned AEW. We have Ricky Saints down there at NXT. He's a possibility. But also, I think Ethan Page is probably the one that is probably the most closest to being caught up and potentially being this Royal Rumble, because we do know the pairing with him and Chelsea Green. So I do think WWE would want to keep these two together on the main roster. So I think it's possible that Ethan Page potentially drops the North American title soon after debuting on the main roster in the Royal Rumble this Saturday, and he goes to the SmackDown brand alongside Chelsea Green in the Secret Service. Then there's Blake Monroe. Oh my gosh, how many AEW roster wrestlers am I going to mention here? Blake Monroe, the former Mariah May in AEW. I think she's had enough time in NXT. Like, I don't think she needed to be in NXT. I think she could have just gone straight up to the main roster, and this would be a great way to debut her in the Women's Royal Rumble. Tatum Paxley's another one. I think you could slide her in on Monday Night Raw with Lyra and Bayley. The craziness there with Bayley having the split personalities, and then you add Tatum to the mix. I think that just might drive Lyra insane, honestly. And of course, the last of NXT, I saved the best for last. The NXT Women's Champion, Jacy Jayne. Now, it is interesting she was not on NXT tonight. I wonder. Maybe. Maybe she's going to be in the Rumble. It's going to be interesting. I think Jacy Jayne is another one who is ready to be called up to the main roster. It is possible that she could lose her title, similar to Ethan Page, and be caught up on the main roster like within a couple days. So, yeah, just call up all Fatal Influence. And before we close out this video again, because there's so much potential for surprises here, quick mention here: AAA, everyone's favorite Iguana, Mr. Iguana. Maybe you get Omos in there as the big giant in the Royal Rumble. Oh no, yeah. Oh no, how do we eliminate the big giant guy? Yeah, we need somebody for that spot. And Mr. Iguana would get a good pop, obviously. Maybe JBL. I mean, I'm just looking at my list here to make sure I got everybody covered. JBL, who is potentially returning to wrestling full time, but not with WWE. We've seen him commentate in AAA. Maybe WWE wants to get ahead of JBL returning to the ring and making sure it's with them and not JCW. So perhaps maybe JBL has one more clothesline from hell in him in the Royal Rumble this Saturday. And last but not least, let's look at TNA talent. Mike Santana, the TNA World Champion. Joe Hendry, the TNA World Champion last year. Perhaps Mike Santana gets a good momentum run just like Joe Hendry did. He was a TNA World Champion. Joe Hendry wound up facing Randy Orton at WrestleMania. So who knows what happens when you appear in the Royal Rumble, right? But yeah, Mike Santana would be a good one, especially if AJ Styles does beat Gunther. That you could have some fun with the Royal Rumble here. AJ potentially having some callbacks with some TNA talent. I don't know how popular TNA was with Saudi Arabia when AJ Styles was the face that ran the place in TNA, but it would be a cool callback moment if AJ Styles is really retiring this year. Maybe we get, who do I have on my list here? Again, Leon Slater. You got Frankie Kazarian, Aaron Young. Joseph Parks, a producer for WWE. I'm just saying, he could put that Abyss mask back on one more time and How about we make the Royal Rumble glorious? And we get maybe AJ Styles and Bobby Roode confrontation in the Royal Rumble. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be some awesome throwbacks for AJ Styles. With him retiring this year. And you know what? Let's end it on a high note here, just for the memes. AJ Francis. Let's just see if he can, just see if he's learned anything about flopping over the top rope. Okay. I mean, honestly, if he can't go over the top rope, he might win the whole Royal Rumble if he's in it. So I don't know. I'm just saying, for the memes, let's put AJ Francis in the Royal Rumble and let's see what happens, right? So, who do you guys want to see in this year's Royal Rumble matches for the men's and the women's? What surprises do you want? Are you looking for a Chris Jericho, Page, TNA, AAA, more people from AEW? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I've been your host, Money Mike, and you've been watching Ringside Cinema.